Yeah.
I'm not leaving, but I'm going to step aside just for a second, but I can still hear it.
Okay. Well, Grant Edmond has arrived. Grant, where are you from? Grant, can you hear us? Grant?
Yes.
Oh, where are you from? What city?
I'm from Johannesburg in South Africa.
Johannesburg, South Africa. Oh, so do you know Alexandra May, the singer?
Yes, I do.
Oh, okay. All right. Great. All right. Okay. Because she has her own show on IBM TV, you know, Alexandra May's Musical Cafe, which is every Sunday. So
that's correct. This is the first time I've been on this forum, so
okay.
Just excuse a little bit of ignorance.
Oh, no problem, Grant. Now, what do you do? Since you're in Johannesburg, I know where that is. So what sort of work do you do?
I'm a musician. I'm a live performer, but I'm a producer and composer, and I've had a recording studio for many years. Okay. And quite big up. We really made some good inroads with our studio in South Africa, and we've got some great material coming out.
Oh, wow. Okay. Do you do podcasting at all?
I don't, but this is the start of it. Thanks to you guys.
Oh, really? Okay, right. Yeah, because the thing is, I was trying to explain, but you didn't hear the other gentleman who was from New Jersey, trying to explain to him about South Africa, because South Africa has 57 million people. It's bigger than California and New Jersey combined. I mean, it's a pretty big country. But in the United States, that we don't really kind of recognize anything outside of our borders. So I'm trying to get the South African people over here and us over into South Africa so they can start recognizing each other. So what about the National Football League? Do you follow the National Football League over in South Africa?
No, we don't. Funny enough, baseball and your football is not a big thing here because basketball's starting to pick up a lot here.
Right.
And I know there's quite a big community that does watch that type of stuff. So, but yeah, and you know, obviously we are a rugby nation.
Yes,
as you all know.
I love rugby. Yeah.
World Cup winners.
Right.
And but yeah, so American football, rugby. I mean, there's a few similarities, but I do sort of try and every now and then have a look at tune in like your Super Bowl and thing, which is absolutely massive in your country.
Yeah, that's true. It is massive. Now,
what about cricket? What about cricket? Do you follow cricket in South Africa?
Pardon?
Do you follow cricket in South Africa?
Cricket. Do you follow cricket?
Yes. Cricket's huge. Yeah.
Okay.
Very big, as you know. Playing against India, we've actually South Africa is just. Well, obviously with the COVID-19, we had to cancel the South African trip to India, which was going to be a really big one for both India and South Africa.
Okay. Another question I have. This is a very important question, and you have only one answer. You have 1 minute to answer, of course. Who is Shadow Khan?
Shadow Khan.
Yes.
Now you got me.
Oh, I got him for the hand kit. I'm telling you, buddy. I'm telling you. He doesn't know who Shadow Khan is.
Okay, ask about Bollywood.
Who Shadow Khan is. And he's in the industry. He's in the entertainment industry. Tell him who Shadow Khan is.
Shadow Khan is the richest actor in the world, and he's from Bollywood.
He's the wealthiest actor in the world, and he's from Bollywood. Right, because I told Ankit, because we had a lot of people from India on. They're on our show almost all week. Okay, for some reason they're not showing up today, but I don't know why. The thing is, we had them on all week, and I told Ankit, I said, look, no one in the United States knows who Shadow Khan is, and then I started thinking, you know, he's really well known in Bollywood. I looked up his Wikipedia page. He's like the wealthiest actor in the world, but his productions don't go outside of India. You know, in other words, so that people don't know who they are. So
hey,
we got Shadow
Nicholas, it's interesting you bring that up because actually, I think that the Indian market is actually going to be having a little bit of a boost because of the Netflix series that's actually getting a lot of play right now, and that's that Never Have I Ever series that just recently started and stars Portia, I believe is the young lady's name, as well as some others. But Never Have I Never is definitely getting a lot of play on Netflix. I think the premiere was Monday. If I remember correctly, Monday or Tuesday, but it's been fairly recent.
Well, the thing is, Netflix is not like the typical American corporation. They actually think globally, Mark. As a matter of fact, there's a great book written. I tell people, first of all, the fastest growing stock in the world the last 10 years. Do you know the answer to that question? Grew by 4,000%. If you invested 10 years ago, your investment would grow 4,000%. The answer is Netflix. That will never work. Netflix actually is the fastest growing stock in the New York Stock Exchange for the last 10 years. A book was written about it called That Will Never Work by Mark Randolph, by the way, who was the founder of Netflix. He really doesn't work in the company very much anymore because Reed Hastings basically runs it. But it goes through the whole problems that Netflix faced early on in terms of getting marketing and distribution going. But then finally Netflix made it. And so now they're a worldwide powerhouse in terms of the media. But they're making a big impact because they do recognize the world as opposed to a lot of the local programs here. And I'm talking about local CBS, ABC, NBC. Those are our big three here in the US. Let me, Ankit, are CBS, ABC, and NBC big in India? No? Okay, let's go to Johannesburg. CBS, ABC, and NBC. They're your big networks, right?
Right? No, not at all.
No,
we just have
not at all.
No, we have our local ones.
Okay.
Obviously, we have we only have one cable network in South Africa, which is called DSTV. And you can pick up ABC, CBS News, but mainly just the news channels and things. Okay. Well, so they're not really big over here. But Netflix Netflix is our big thing here now.
Okay,
hey, Grant, just out of curiosity, and I've actually got to get ready to go shortly too. It's way past my lunchtime. But just out of curiosity, what is the music market like? Like I know when we think of music here, Kim noticed that blues is in my email title, and I'm definitely a fan of blues and jazz and R&B. But I know that African music has got some traditional sounds, but then y'all are probably doing some other kind of musical genres as well. So what are kind of like your big genres that are popular there in South Africa? I imagine that there's some styles that are unique to South Africa, and then some of y'all are probably doing rock and R&B, but you've got a studio there. So I was just curious as to what styles are going on. I mean, imagine there's even some South African hip hop.
Well, South Africa, we got quite a few genres here. We have a small population of our over 57 million people here are Afrikaans. I would probably guesstimate there's probably about 3 million Afrikaners, Afrikaans people in the whole population. But the Afrikaans music industry in this country is so big and so huge and so well supported by everybody in the population. So that's quite good. The new big thing that's creeping in is American country over here. We've had a good country scene here for a long time, but the new American country has really taken off, and a lot of our artists are now recording in those styles. And I find that's what I'm, as a producer and a musician, I'm doing a lot of that stuff here. Blues is quite prominent. And then obviously we have, we've got 11 different languages in South Africa. So out of the 11 ethnic cultures, they all have their own sort of music genres. So it's it's extremely diverse. But in saying that, we are extremely up to date. Our hit parade are songs from all over the world. So there's British, there's American, there's country, there's a huge genre. So we've actually got quite a nice, it's a nice diverse musical taste that we got in South Africa, and a lot of people subscribe to that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Grant, what are you doing right now because of the coronavirus? Are you guys out of production? Are you doing production, or what are you doing?
Yeah, we are pretty much out of production. I was quite lucky. I'm working on an album for a new artist at the moment. So my studio is in my house, which is a good thing. Mm-hmm. So working from home. So I'm doing all the production work. And then obviously when the time comes when our lockdown ends and he's able to come in, he'll do it. But the good thing with technology today, exactly like we're doing over now on this podcast, is I've got a drummer that will do the drum parts for me. who also works from a studio about 100 miles away from me. So I'll just send him the track and he'll do the track and send it back. So technology is a really, really good thing in this day and age with COVID. So we still are pretty much on quite a strict lockdown. I don't know how the rest of you guys are. How's your lockdown?
Yeah, it's pretty much strict here in the Triangle area as well. I mean, not that many people out and about in terms of going to work and things of that nature. We're definitely doing the mask, and there's some folks getting around, but it's not nearly what it would usually be during this time. And a lot of the businesses are closed down except for what they're considering essential businesses. So a lot of those are down and everything. So that's what is going on here in this area. I was also curious, what is the funk music? I have a very dear friend. He actually lives not that far from me in the apartment complex that I'm in. It's very much into like the funk music scene. So I didn't know if there was a funk music scene there. And I was also curious if you've ever had any pleasure of working with any of the legends that y'all have had come out of South Africa. I'm thinking about like Lady Smith, Black Mambazo, and some others like that. And I didn't know whether you've ever had the privilege of working with them.
Yeah, I had the pleasure of doing some stuff a few years ago with the late Joseph Shabalala, the founder of Lady Smith Black Mambazo, who was an absolute wonderful gentleman and did so much for South African music all those years ago when he teamed up with the Paul Simon Project. And then, as you guys know in America, I mean, they've been an absolute stalwart for South African music, won quite a few Grammy Awards. And so I was extremely fortunate to have sort of grown up. Even before they broke internationally, they were very big over here as an ethnic choral group. And Joseph Shabalala was a good ambassador for South African music.
Is Johannesburg the entertainment capital of South Africa?
Pretty much so. Johannesburg's very big. The second, I'd say second to it or even equal to it would be Cape Town.
Where?
Yeah. Cape Town's a mecca.
Cape Town.
Of,
okay, yeah, Cape Town, of course. Yes, Cape Town would be pretty big. So Sydney Alter, have you heard of Sydney Alter?
Yes. Yes,
Okay.
Cindy and I performed together quite a lot.
Right.
She's recorded in my studio. She's a great friend of mine.
Really? Okay.
And we've got a little trio that we go out on the road with. We call the Smoking Guns, and we do a lot of country rock music. So it's myself and Cindy Alter and another chap called Bernie Williams. Yeah. So
Okay. Yeah.
Nick, I think I should play the Alexander's show teaser so that Grant would be able to understand what.
Yeah, so you can see. Yeah, if you can find it.
Here we go.
I ain't no typical girl. I ain't no typical girl. I ain't no typical. I ain't cheerleading while the boys play ball. I ain't no typical girl. No. I wanna be right there in the middle of it.
There you go. Yeah, she was actually on our show Sunday, Cindy Alter.
Oh, fantastic.
That's the reason I wanted to ask.
She's actually from South Africa. And,
Cindy Alter. They know each other. Apparently, Grant used to tour with Cindy Alter, so they kind of like know each other. But if you go to the United States or you go to India and you ask who is Cindy Alter, your answer would be. Mark, do you know Cindy Alter?
No, nobody would know.
There we go, buddy. Welcome to America, baby.
Yeah.
We don't know who they are.
join us on the cafe. You're not just going to hear people from South Africa, which actually, just listening to our sweet little Alexandra is enough. She's going to have stars from all over the world. Like we're lining them up from all over the world. She doesn't care.
She really going to do that all over the world?
Yeah.
But there's some amazing musicians that are around the world, and actually, I didn't know Cindy Alter. A good friend of mine who passed away not that long ago was Baba Chuck Davis, and Chuck Davis ran the African American Dance Ensemble and is definitely known around this area for his study of African dance and traveling around to the different countries in Africa. It's really interesting. Sometimes when you talk to some people here in the United States, they try to make Africa one big country when we know that it's actually several countries that are
It's a continent. It's not a country. It's a continent.
The continent.
The continent. But some people don't necessarily get that. and they try to make it one big country when it's actually, South Africa is the country, and there are several countries like that within the continent. But Baba Chuck just was amazing and introduced me to a lot of world music. And we've got some great independent artists. So I don't know whether you, Kim, or Nicholas have had a chance to check with Reese Palmer or some of the others that we've got here in this area, but there's some amazing musicians here in this area that should be coming onto the Music Cafe with y'all. And
we should
working with you, Grant, in terms of doing international work, because a lot of these folks, because of being at home, are open to the possibility of doing collaborations with people around the world. And we've got a real rich music scene here in the Raleigh-Durham, Chapel Hill area that covers everything from country to rock to folk to all kinds of other genres.
And it's that's what we're trying to do with the Music Cafe. And what started out as a 1 hour show almost extended 2 hours, kind of like what Ankit and I did. We started out with 1 hour show, and it's now 4 hours. But we found that the content was well received by the public, and she found the same thing. She's like, "Oh my gosh, this is." But we weren't about like all of the top stars that you see. We're about the really good artists that nobody really hears about all over the world. And that's what we want to do. And a lot of things that people don't understand is, and I got into this a little bit by accident when I went to Nashville and then recorded a song myself. I learned from the industry that it pretty much crashed the day Napster opened, right? Mm-hmm. Economically, Napster destroyed the economics of the music industry. And these people just almost went bankrupt. They all went bankrupt. Yeah. Truly, the only way that people make money is concerts, and all of those have been canceled this year. But when you see like a country star get on the stage and he's crying, going, "Thank you so much. I am so appreciative to my fans." He is. Let me tell you, he would not be making money if it weren't for those fans out there in that concert. He is genuinely crying because without them, he would be making money. I've looked at the BMI reports, which were the music industry financial records, right? And where like just before Napster, they were making enough money to buy a house, take care of their family, maybe $60,000 a year or more back then. And then the bigger stars, of course, made more. They were down to making maybe less than a couple $100 a month.
It's interesting you bring that up because that's the reason I was asking Grant about funk music. Is my good friend who's like I said, he lives not that far from me and everything. Zach Robinson, he's got a funk band, the Nappy Head Funk Army, but he's also driving Uber and doing some other things. I think he was also doing a little bit of Uber Eats just to maintain some living. And his musicians are not all here. He's originally from the New York area, and then he's got some of his other musicians that are like in Texas and other places. And I think they've even got some that are in the Pennsylvania, Philadelphia area. So he was planning to, have this concert tour that he was going to do to support this independent project that they put out. But it looks like that's going to be put on hold till 2021 because of what's going on with the venues that they were looking at. So that's definitely put a damper in their plans. But they were hoping to take this whole thing both nationally and globally. So that's definitely put a plan of damper on that. But I'm going to definitely send him to y'all because he's right now on Reverb Nation and trying to climb up on the local charts and that. I think
oversaturated,
fluctuating between 2 and 4.
Yeah,
oversaturated.
Get him on Alexander May's Musical Cafe. It's Sunday at 3:00.
Or just start his own if he's consistent. This is what I told Alexander. I don't want to take away from her cafe, but there's room for other musical genres going on or other musical shows. But the key is, or just have him come on her show and her show just get bigger and bigger. But the key is consistency. If you're going to do something and you're going to get out there, you got to be consistent. And Grant, I think you can support me on this, is that, especially in the music industry, you have to be consistent. You have to be there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
100%. The music industry all over the world has suffered huge losses or started to suffer huge losses with the advent of all the electronic media and stuff. And obviously that happened years ago. And exactly, Kimberly, exactly as you said, the only way to make a living is to go out and do it live. I produce records for other artists, but myself as to sustain a living, I perform 4 to 5 times a week. I'm out on the road, working as a solo artist, lugging my gear there. and I've been doing it for 35 years. So
Whoa.
it's just part of what
35 years.
Lifer.
Okay, that means
Lifer,
you'll be
for
around
sure.
doing it for a while. Okay.
Grant, now one of the things I'm just curious about is that I know here in the States, and that's why I mentioned what Zach was going through. Unfortunately, too many of our artists don't get the kind of support, and this is going to come back to some of our United States policies and things of that nature. We don't get the kind of support in terms of finances and support from the government that I know they get from other countries. So are you able to sustain that kind of living that you're doing just on your own and with your own kind of finances? Or do you get like some kind of subsidies and other things from the government? Because I do know that some other countries have that kind of thing going on, which helps them with their careers. Whereas here we got a lot of musicians, a lot of actors, a lot of people in the creative worlds that are working in Harris Teeter, they're working in Starbucks, they're working in places like that because they don't have the time and don't have the support from the greater community in order to actually make their living as an artist right now. So I was just wondering how it works with you, Grant, whether you're able to actually sustain and whether you get any kind of backing from the government. Because I do know that there are some societies in our world that do that. They definitely support their artists more than I feel we support ours.
Well, unfortunately, we don't get any support from the government here. And, it's just a case of, as I say, my career, besides, I'm fortunate that I own a studio, but I've worked hard to get where I am today as a producer and owning all the gear. But I've always had to perform. I would say in the 90s, the music industry in South Africa and I think all over the world was fantastic. So as a performing musician in the 90s, we were performing 7 nights a week. We were earning fantastic money. We're probably earning half of what we were earning in the 90s, but it's still sustainable to make a living. And it's the usual. What else? I don't know anything else. This is all I know. And it's a love. It is definitely a love, but it is a living. And I'm fortunate enough to wake up every morning and go, hey, man, I don't have to drive 4 hours in the traffic and go and sit in an office for 8 hours and be dictated to by somebody I don't like. So, in the old days, your parents, everyone's parents would say, why do you want to be a musician? Get a real job. And what people don't realize, it's still, even after 35 years, I've got to learn new material all the time, got to keep the audiences entertained. So it's an evolving thing, and it's not something that it's not like training as an accountant or whatever, another professional, a motor mechanic, and boom, you do your training and go and you work. I mean, this is an evolving business, and it's a hard business, but it's an extremely rewarding business. And we're quite fortunate in this country. There are a lot of venues. I mean, some of the venues are performing. I've been performing there for 5 or 6 years. So it would be once a week or once every 2 weeks. And once you've built up a bunch of venues of, say, 10 or 12 venues that you perform in, it sustains your living. So I'm quite fortunate about that. But it is difficult, but it's something we love, and that's why we do it.
Yeah, are your venues still running? Because I know here I'm on the board of the Carolina Theater, and I've worked with a number of other venues. I also work at the Hayti Heritage Center, which is an African American Cultural Arts Center, and all of those venues are actually shut down right now. Even DPAC, which is a very big venue, I think it seats like somewhere around 2,000 or so. It's shut down. Our ballpark, which would usually have the Durham Bulls, is shut down because of the virus and things of that nature. So a lot of the venues are shut down. Over there in South Africa, are y'all still running your business in terms of actually being able to have the venues? Because even our nightclubs are shut down. I know that the Blue Note Grill, as well as I believe Pinhook and things of that nature, a lot of them are not operating right now because they're trying to do the social distance and trying to stay separate, trying to maintain that the mask things and things of that nature that our health experts have advised us to do. So I was just wondering how it is there in South Africa. Are y'all still operating in terms of being able to operate in the venues, or are the venues shut down there also?
No, we all shut down here, mate. Everything's closed down. We've been closed down for 6 weeks now, so it's been very difficult for us. It's a hard, really, all the musos are going through a really, really tough time, but not just us, the venues as well. So we're still on a big shutdown. We go down to what they've described here tomorrow as level 4, that only a few select people can go back to work. go back to work. But we're suspecting it's going to still be another 6 weeks before venues start opening again. But people are hungry for entertainment, and they've all been locked up in their houses. So I think when we go back, we're going to go back with a bang. Well, I'm hoping so.
That's interesting you say that, because I've heard that theory from my musician friends, and some of them are actually afraid that people will not come back because they're going to be still so concerned about the germs and about the virus and the different other things, that they're afraid that they won't get the kind of response that they would like to get. And that I know even in the Carolina Theater, they've talked about the possibility of doing yellow dotting, which means that you're separating the people from 2 or 3 seats, which means that 1,000-seater might then be turned into like a 300-seater or something like that. So there is some concern about what the new model will look like. And I even know some people that are considering doing more virtual events. Like there's a group here called North Star Church of the Arts. It's a converted church. It's now a music venue, and it's run by Nina Freelon, who's a world-renowned jazz artist, and her son Pierce, who's a pretty world-renowned, definitely I would say United States-renowned rapper, and their husband, who passed away, was one of the architects for the African American Museum in DC. But that's their passion project, but they've done like some remote concerts and things of that nature. But I do know some of my friends are concerned that at least over the next several months, probably the rest of 2020, that it won't be that much touring, won't be that much concerts going on, and they're wondering about the stability and the sustainability of their industry, and also what the new model will look like, whether we'll be seeing more virtual events. Are y'all having similar kind of conversations there in South Africa, or is everybody pretty much convinced that y'all will be going back to the big venues and the concert halls?
I agree with you. I agree with what you're saying. And I'm pretty. I'm a bit worried that would be the situation here, but. South Africans on a whole, and all of us musicians in South Africa, obviously we've got Facebook followings, and we've got groups, and people follow us on WhatsApp and that type of thing, and everybody's saying can't wait for the venues to open, want to see. We're an extremely sociable party type of crowd here in South Africa, so I think people will. Obviously, it's not going to. I think it'll be quite a gradual thing in there, but it is. I agree with you. It is quite worrying that we are going to see a situation where some venues may not just be able to open up anymore because of the economic effect that the lockdowns had on it. But I'm just trying to be positive, and I can't wait to load my. As they say, a musician. Load your $50,000 equipment into a $35,000 car and go and do a gig for $100. You know what I mean? So.
That's very common. That's even common here, because I know a lot of the musicians get frustrated even with our festival circuit, because they are having this equipment that costs all this amount of money, and then they're not necessarily making that kind of money in the festival and the return that they're getting, because a lot of times the planners of the festivals are trying to nickel and dime them. Let's be honest. That's what a lot of people are trying to do in the business. So they try to nickel and dime them. But it's also interesting watching this new era and how people are addressing it. I had on my podcast Mona Shakes, and she's a Pakistani comedian, and she was on because she's starting to do these series of platforms. It's not on StreamYard, but it's on something similar like that. And then she event combos it, I believe. And so she's doing like these weekly series where she's trying to reach a different demographic than what might usually watch her comics, but it's kind of her demographic. So she's been doing this whole series that's been focusing on Asian and folks in that culture, comedians. And I think she said eventually she may get other minority comedians as well, but she's been putting that platform out now. I think this is like either 5th or 6th week of doing it, but she was just, sitting at home and wanting to get her message out there as a comedian. We had the sports guy on, who's actually a stand-up comedian, before you were here, and that's actually what he might even be doing that with his YouTube. But definitely that's kind of where we're seeing people use these platforms, including what I imagine IBM TV is offering. And I'm definitely a big fan of what they're doing. Stayed on a bit longer than I was expected to. I'm looking at the clock and just really enjoyed myself.
I've just sat here and said, you know what, you could help us out here with some of our shows, because you're really, really good at this. But I want to share something with you guys about talking about how much money you invest in your equipment. and what it costs to probably produce for one show and what you end up making. And in the TV industry, Nick and I, we were generally it costs about $1,000 a minute to produce just a simple TV show. 3 cameras, a few people on the set, and it's $1,000 a minute. People don't understand that's expensive, and you just don't go $1,000 a minute. Add that up, $30,000 just for a 30-minute show. Now that did not include our post-production edits, okay, and adding in the intros and the outros, and that did not include the airtime that you have to buy. So in the U.S., if you're not being carried by the network, then you buy your airtime, and airtime can cost a lot of money because you got to pick the time you want. And Nick always wants the best time, so. You can bleed real quick if you don't have the right sponsors or the right money coming in. So, and we learned this about a lot. There's a lot of TV shows out there that just don't ever get going. They spend a lot of money investing in it, a lot of money. And then there's the TV shows where, because they require you to have 13 shows developed before you come to the network. Even if you're paying for your own slot, you cannot come unless you, so that's a lot of money. Think about it. 13 shows at $1,000 a minute. And so you get there and they play you for 3 months or 3 of the shows are for you. You know what? We just don't want you. There went your 13 shows of investment. So Nick and I, we worked around in different networks, and finally I just looked at him. I was so exhausted. I was like, if we don't own our network, I don't want to do another network. I don't show again. I'm done. And he goes, we can't do that. We'll bleed to death more than what we have because you got to have buildings. Nick, there's got to be a way to do this because I owned my own phone company for 5 years. There's got to be a better way to do this. And he found it. He found it through Pod TV. He goes, Kim, I found it, and we're not going to bleed to death. And this was over a year ago. This is when we met Ankit. And I go, I love this idea. We don't have to travel, but if we do, our equipment's this, right? Very simple. Yeah. And and I learned via just playing around with different platforms how to get those different angles of people, right? You can set up several of your cameras, which are these now, right? Because they're all 4K. And so we were able to start producing our own TV shows for a fraction of the cost. And now we're doing them from home thanks to COVID. It forced us to do even more. But there are ways to pivot. And the music industry just broke my heart because we can't have shows or movies without music. And actually, to be honest with you, music fills our cup when it's empty, right?
Yeah, music is such an important part of our society, and it's such a vital part of our society. It's actually interesting that you said that, and I'm trying to remember the network that we're on, but one of my other projects that I hadn't talked to anybody about on this show, or even anybody other shows that I've been on recently, is not that long ago, a good friend of mine, Captain Newborn, and that's actually his first name. It's I think his folks thought he was going to be in the military and stuff. It's also his dad's name, and neither one of them are actual captains. I think he told me if we go down, it might be a 3rd or 4th generation captain, but they've kept the name in the family. Like people have a first name or a last name and just keep it in their family. But they started a road to the Apollo, so they got with the actual Apollo Theater and had an agreement that we would start the show first at the Hayti Heritage Center and create this show. It was a talent show modeled after the Showtime at the Apollo model. So we have our own house band, we have our own rotating Kiki Shepherds, we have our own pretty much established, even though there have been a few of them, Sandman and things of that nature. And then we have multiple hosts. I actually do some of the hosting. I can be a little bit more clean cut than I am right now. COVID just meant that barbers are also shut down, which meant that I haven't had a chance to see the barbers like that. I would like to see him and everything. But we have that show going on, and the captain would be the other host doing more of the pitch about what the veterans are involved in and a little bit of our sponsors. But the day-to-day, the majority of the run with the contestants, because I had already interviewed the contestants, I do that part. And then we started it at the Hayti. Then we did it at another venue, the Salvation Army in Durham. And then after about 2 years of that, we were like, hey, we're supposed to be a state kind of project, so let's do it around the state. So we went around the state to different venues. We've been to Henderson, Rocky Mount, Kinston, where Captain is from, a number of other towns. And then over the last several years, the winners then go up to New York, and we've had a tremendous amount of success. We've had, like, I would argue 95 to 98 or 93% success rate, meaning that the folks that we send up, we got the right to jump the line. So, you see those big lines for The Voice and American Idol and all those, we get to jump the line and go right to the front. And that being said, they hear us first, and they've really liked the talent that we brought them because we make it a point to bring them award-winning talent. So we've actually had people that have gone on and even won in the actual Apollo Theater, but they're definitely, the ones we send them are quality folks. And they've also, the model has been taken, so they've actually done this kind of show in other cities as well, because Captain kind of licensed it out to them. So I think there was one in, I want to say Dallas, there might have been one in Tennessee or something like that. I don't remember all the states. I'd have to bring Captain on to tell you the specific states, but they took that model, and we've also said that we'd be willing to travel as well. But that being said, we have had tremendous success with that, and they're looking to have more success, but we're also in lockdown in terms of having that happen. But well, my point with that was that we did reach out to these networks, and some of the networks were airing us, but they were airing us at crazy hours, even the independent networks. I've had friends that have told me, yeah, I saw you on the air, but I'm like, well, what time was it? It was midnight. It was 1 o'clock. It was 2 a.m, things of that nature. So they did catch it, but they were in different hours, whether that was on regular TV, whether that was on other TVs, like the more independent TV stations. And I'm trying to remember the name of the network, but it's not coming to me, so I'm just going to give up on that.
Well, Mark, the networks are dead.
Yeah, the networks are dead. Grant, what kind of, so you're in the music industry, you're traveling from place to place. Do you have any songs you could share with us?
Yes, please.
I do. I've got some stuff. Just technically right now, at this point in time, it'll be a bit difficult, but I definitely want to come back and chat with you guys again soon and share some of the stuff with you.
Okay.
It's just been absolutely awesome being with you guys, man.
Yes.
So also, Grant, also share with us some of your music and we'll air it. We have a music part of IBM TV. We have a music channel. And if you share us some of your music, we'll put it up.
Oh, and Mark, the reason I said the networks are dead, think about it. Even if you got on the networks in the United States, ABC, NBC, CBS, Ankit and his 1.3 billion followers wouldn't be able to see it because they don't watch it in India. And
Right.
Grant in South Africa that has 57 million people aren't going to be able to watch it because they're not in South Africa. But on IBM TV, they get to watch it, baby.
Well, I'll have to. I will talk to Captain about
you
y'all.
can tell them that, baby. They'll be
Captain
seeing it
about
in
y'all.
India. They'll be seeing it in South Africa. If you're on IBM TV on ABC, forget it.
I'm definitely going to talk to him about that. I did remember the name of the network that he's on. It's another local network, but they don't have the kind of reach that y'all do. It's called Launch TV. That's what the network that he was airing on.
Oh, yeah, that's what I'm saying. They're the networks that we went to the NAPT meeting in Miami Beach. The thing they're scared about is OTT programming, which is this. It's going to overtake, they're going to lose 25% of their market share in the next 5 years to OTT, which is us. So too bad, we'll pick it up as they lose their share. In the meantime, Chris has joined us. Chris, what city are you from?
Well, Grant, make sure you send us some of your music.
Grant, we want to see the
I definitely will, guys. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to sign out now, but I'll chat to you all very, very soon. And thank you.
Yeah,
thank you for joining.
Is there a website for you, Grant?
Grant, website? Grant,
Is there a website for you, Grant?
What's your website?
Sorry, so say again?
What's your website?
It's www.rattleenroll.co.za.
www.rebel.
Yeah, can you send it to Ankit? We'll put it on our website.
If you can type it on our private chat, we'll put it up.
Okay, great. Yeah, then we'll put it up so people can access it.
Definitely, we'll send it. Guys, thank you very much, man.
All right, thank you, Grant.
Warm love and regards from Africa.
Yes, and check out the cafe from Johannesburg on Sunday, 3 o'clock Eastern time.
Yeah, we will do.
Okay, Johannesburg.
Bye-bye.
Right, we'll see you.
Bye.
So, bye-bye. We'll see you, Grant.
Chris, we got a guy with a real microphone. Oh, my gosh. I feel like I'm talking
I know. It's on a big microphone. You think I'm a podcaster? Here's my big microphone.